Hello and welcome to another comparison video. Please like, subscribe, and comment for more like-related content. What we have on the table here is two different full-size Glock pistols. We have the Glock 21 SF in 45 ACP. This is a Gen 3 model. This is the Glock 20 in 10mm. This is a Gen 4 model. You can clearly see that the magazine release is different and the stippling is different, so that's an easy way to tell the difference in the generations of the Glock pistols, as well as other. This one has a double recoil spring that's metal, this one has the single one that's plastic, and there's differences in the trigger too. Same trigger pull weight. But let's get into the nitty-gritty. If you live in a place like I do, where you go outdoor adventuring, and there's predators and other large animals that you need to be wary of because you're in their territory, the Glock 20 in 10mm is a very popular pistol for, say, people that live in Alaska, right? That live in moose and bear country. I prefer the Glock 21 in 45 personally, the slim frame model, and we'll get into the reasons why. But first, let's go over the specs. They're nearly identical. The barrel length, the width, the height are all the same. The trigger pull in newtons is the same. So the barrel is 4.6 inches, the length is 8.07 inches, the width is 1.34 inches, and the height is 5.5 inches. The weight for the Glock 20 is more. This is 30.7 ounces, and the Glock 21 short frame is 29.1 ounces. The trigger pull is both 28 newtons. With the 10mm, you get 15 plus 1. With the 45, you get 13 plus 1. Now, what I like specifically about these isn't necessarily has to do with the caliber, but it does. What I really don't like about the 10mm Glock 20 is it is a one big giant brick, essentially. It is wide, it is heavy, and it doesn't have any ergonomics in the grip whatsoever. Now, when you have like a 17 or a 19, the handle isn't as fat, it's not as wide, and it's not as heavy. So it's a more scaled up version of, you know, the 17 or the 19 and 10mm, but it has to be because of the more powerful cartridge. But I've put over 500 rounds through this thing, and it doesn't seem like it's broken in at all. It's got the double recoil spring, the metal recoil spring. That's double, essentially, when you look at it. And this one has the plastic one. The trigger is a little bit different, even though the pull weight is the same on the website. I just can't get the trigger down at all. I've taken this to the range several times, and I literally can't hit the broadside of a barn with this thing. It's big and it's heavy, but at the same time, you need that weight to mitigate the power of the cartridge, but you don't get a lot with this package. And this is an expensive gun, to be honest. It was $650. I've got a mil-spec 1911 from Springfield Armory for that price, and this doesn't offer much. The sights are just basic cheap plastic. The grip is plastic, you know, the trigger is plastic, the magazines are plastic. So with this Glock pistol that costs this much, I know that the performance is there, the reliability is there, but it doesn't have any features really, to be honest. I put the little plug thing in. I normally do that. That's just one of the accessories I get for these. I have night sights on this one, but that's because I like it. So I actually tell you the story of why I got this, because I was up in the mountains, and when I was coming back down, and I wasn't that far from the parking lot, that I came across a moose, a full-size moose. It was bigger than a Chevy Tahoe, bigger than a Chevy truck. It was massive. And being that close to a moose, I had my Glock 43 on me, and that would have done nothing. And I can't outrun the moose, and even though it's a vegetarian, they're extremely territorial, and usually where there's one, there's probably the other gender and babies also. So I've seen also baby moose also, so I know that there's males and females and there's breeding going on. And this isn't too far from where the parking lot is, where you go to either go hiking up the mountain, or they have like a frisbee golf course too that you can do. There's wild turkeys also, there's mountain lions, there's wolves, there's coyotes. I don't know where you live, but here where people go moose hunting, that mountain lions are extremely territorial and that they will stalk you. Even where I live, there's people that have been stalked by mountain lions not too far from where I live, where I go hiking and where I go and get my Christmas trees, which I'm going to be doing next weekend. Looking forward to it. So I needed something like this when I'm deep out in the mountains, because I'll go hiking 20-something miles deep. And when you're in the snow, you can see their tracks and you start to appreciate how many animals there are, right? Because you see these different sets of tracks and different sizes. There's lots of rabbits, there's lots of four-legged creatures. I don't know if they're wolves, coyotes, whatever, mountain lions, something. It could even be a bear. Paw prints, it's hard to distinguish. You know, with the deer and the elk, that's a little easier. And when you see their poop, the different size and shape can help you determine what the animals are. But you need to be prepared for any situation. So I had the urge to get this, and I went and got this immediately because it scared me, to be honest. I was like, wow, I feel like an idiot. I'm out here, unprotected. Nobody can hear me scream or anything like that. So it really is about being smart and survival. So you need something that's reliable and quality, which this is, but it doesn't offer much in ergonomics. The trigger pull is heavy and it's hard to get used to. I really don't like the Gen 4 trigger. I like the more squishy Gen 3 trigger. That's why I ended up getting this one. So I ended up getting the Glock 20 and 10mm first. And then when I got the bill for the ammunition, I was like, wow, this is way more expensive than 45 and it's smaller bullets. So I was like, what is the big deal? Like, people buy into the momentum and velocity of it, I think, a little bit too much. When I look at the paper, I see bigger holes from the 45 and I'm more accurate with this, and the ammunition is cheaper, and this is same platform, it's just reliable, and it's only 2 less capacity, which is not a big deal, especially when it's double digits. It's not single digits like a 1911. So, but for my bear gun, so to speak, or my outdoor protection gun when I'm hiking, is the Glock 21 in 45, the short frame model. So it'll say it right there, SF for short frame, right? So it doesn't have the texturing. It does have a little bit of finger grooves here with the texturing, which I don't care for. I wish it was no texturing and no finger grooves. The magazine release, it's weak sauce. It doesn't stick out far enough. But with the short frame, it's okay, because that's what the difference is. It's a shorter frame, so it also weighs less too. But it still is wide. There's also, you can get the, I believe it's the Glock 30 and 30Ss in 45. And the 30S is even smaller and lighter than the 30. So it's the scaled down version of this and then even lighter weight. So I've been eyeing that too. I really like this, but at the same time, it is big and heavy. I mean, it's 29 ounces, but I did put the night sights on it, so it's pretty nice. And I do like the Gen 3 trigger pull better. Even though the weight is the same, that's not the feel of it, It's the same plastic thing, but the take up here, this one's a little bit more squishy, but I like this. This one's a little bit more stiff. But you can see they're pretty much identical, except for a few features. But if I had to choose one or the other, I'm taking this one, especially the Gen 3. So I don't particularly care for the Gen 4 model for the texturing. The magazine is the best feature. If this magazine release was on here, I wouldn't complain. This magazine release is weak sauce. Usually I replace these and get an extended one, but for this one, I don't really care. It works, I can get to it. But like with the 17s that I have in Gen 3, I have the extended on it so that I can really fast click the button and change them. But for this one, I really do prefer this over the 10 mil. It is a little bit, I would say, softer shooting. Not so much that you would notice a huge difference, but I think that the guide rod system changes too. Like this one has the plastic guide rod, so I think that the recoil management in this one is a little bit different, and it's preferable, right? You would think that the double metal guide rod would be better, but it's stiffer, right? So I think this one absorbs a little bit more, and I just prefer it. You know, even though the 45 is bigger and heavier, it's something about the grip and the trigger I just don't like. So a lot of people are really popular with the 10mm cartridge and the Glock 20 platform because it's reliable. It's, you know, you can beat the crap out of it. It's going to work. You don't really have to clean it, barely ever. But the ammunition is so much more expensive too than with the 45. I don't think that it's performance-wise justifies the increase in price. And this is a $650 gun, if not more. I got this one for cheaper than that. And this is an older model, as this is a Gen 3. So maybe if this one was a Gen 3, which is probably going to be pretty hard to find, maybe it would be a better comparison, because I do prefer the Gen 3s for sure over the Gen 4s. But I've tried to give this every chance to like this, and I just can't. There's just nothing. It's one big brick. Like, it's not ergonomic at all. So like, if you have a 1911, shoot that, then shoot this, then you'll see what you're talking about. Like, there's no ergonomics to the grip. It's really fat, and it's just one big brick, and the sights are cheap plastic. You're going to have to replace them if you want anything that's, you know, useful. I mean, you can get by with them, but they're just, you know, they're the bare minimum, right? No pun intended. And then let's go over the trigger pull with this thing. Like, it's heavy. Like, and even after 500 rounds, it's not very good. And I'm really pulling pretty hard right now. So it's probably 6.5 pounds, 6 pounds, something like that. And it has the audible click reset. Now, what's great about this is you don't have to worry about the reliability at all, but it doesn't have a lot of features. And this, the grip is better, the trigger is preferable to me, the frame is thinner, and I like the caliber. I think it manages, the system manages the energy or recoil. It's just a preferable feel to me. Sometimes it just comes down to feel and then what you see on the paper. So you see this one has more take up, but it resets sooner. So I like this one because I literally can have it engaged, but it's not firing. So I prefer this too, especially in when you're out in the woods and no man's land and you have a dangerous predator approaching and you want to be cautious. I personally am going to go caution first. I love animals. This is mainly a self-defense thing, self-preservation. It is the last choice. It is not the first choice. So I realize when I'm deep in the mountains, I'm in their territory, you know. I should be conscientious of where I'm at. This is mainly for protection so that I can come home and do it again. And Bambi welcomes me out in the woods. So I want to be a friend, not a foe. So if you're looking for a quote-unquote bear gun or something to protect against large game, large predators, I know that the 10mm Glock 20 is a popular choice, but I think that you should check out the Glock 21 in 45 instead. It has the same reliability, the ammunition is cheaper, and let's be honest, it is a bigger round. So you can look at the numbers, you can look at the velocity, and you can look at the momentum and all of that, the joules of energy. But when you look at the paper and then you look over the over 100-year history that the 45 caliber cartridge has been around and in different platforms, most notably the 1911, and how much use that it's gotten and how much information we have on it, it's a reliable choice. and it's going to probably be 15 cents per round cheaper. So I went with the 45, and I've got a little bit of ammo left for this, and then I'm going to look to trade it or get rid of it or something, and let somebody else enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed this comparison. Stay tuned for more light content. I'm going to do a review here on this one, the Glock 21 short frame, and stay tuned for more content. Like, subscribe, comment. Thank you, and we'll see you on the next one.